Of the 3 former COs that went to trial so far in the murder of Robert Brooks, only one of them will see the other side of the criminal justice system. David Kingsley was the only former Marcy Corrections officer found guilty of murder and manslaughter. Before we get to Kendra Brodus to outline what happens next for Kingsley, Andrew Donovan explains the not guilty verdicts for former COs Matthew Gallier and Nicholas Kiefer. While Gallier and Kiefer are breathing a sigh of relief with their families tonight, David Kingsley has been returned to the state's custody until his sentencing. Kendra Brodus explains what's coming up next in this case. Earlier today, 4 of the former correctional officers at Marcy Correctional Facility were sentenced by Judge Robert Payeur after they pled guilty for their roles in the death of Robert Brooks. Eyewitness News reporter Louis Genovese was at the courthouse today and explains how it all went down. We were expecting the Rome Common Council to vote on their proposed budget at tonight's meeting, but that vote did not happen as expected. Instead, the Common Council voted to extend the budget deadline into November. The council now has an extra 3 weeks to perform its due diligence on that $56 million spending plan. The council has spent the last month going through the budget line by line with city department leaders. The final such meetings with the heads of Rome's Parks and Recreation and Code Enforcement departments were held before tonight's meeting. Since that collapse, Barneveld Fire has continued to respond to emergency calls. A Utica man is facing charges this evening after he was accused of sexually assaulting a woman inside her Bleecker Street apartment. Earlier this month, the alleged victim told police that a maintenance worker in her building told her he needed to perform work inside. A short time later, the woman found that maintenance worker naked in her bedroom before she was forced onto her bed and assaulted. The woman was able to get free before the man left. Police are identifying 54-year-old Richard Melendez as their suspect. Melendez is already a registered sex offender who is being charged with failing to update his employment status on top of a third-degree charge of aggravated sexual abuse. With funding for food stamps either gone or reduced and contingency funding yet to be released by the USDA, Oneida County Executive Anthony Picenti held a press conference this afternoon to outline how the county is trying to help residents keep food on the table. Earlier this week, Oneida County's Department of Family and Community Services announced expanded office hours in Utica and Rome from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. until further notice. Today, Picenti also announced that the offices will be open on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Right now, the county is giving out vouchers on a case-by-case basis of around $6 a day to some of the more than 900 food stamp recipients that have been lining up at the county office buildings since SNAP funding ran out. Earlier today, federal judges ordered the Trump administration to fully fund SNAP benefits by tomorrow with the Department of Agriculture's contingency fund. However, the Trump administration is appealing that decision. Today, county officials also spoke on the Federal Home Energy Assistance Program, saying that they are able to provide emergency assistance for households that either expect to have their services disconnected or if they're running low on fuel. Attorney General Letitia James is now getting involved in a case against 2 owners of former vape shops in Oneonta who are trying to open a third store after repeated closures by the state for illegal conduct. The state is suing the owners of Royal Tobacco in Oneonta after they were caught illegally selling vapes to children and for selling flavored vapes, which are totally banned here in New York State. The AG's office says that 2 more stores have been opened despite the owners losing their licenses after repeated warnings and fines. Instead of filing motions for his upcoming trial, Malachi Winder has pled guilty to several charges, including second-degree attempted murder. Those charges stemming from the day in March of this year when Winder fired a gun at a person inside Sangertown Square Mall. Until tonight, Winder was expected to argue self-defense. However, Winder and his attorney, Corey Zenemo, told Judge Michael Nolan that they are no longer planning to go to trial next week. Winder accepting a concurrent sentence of 15 years in prison as opposed to the more than 30 years he could have served in consecutive sentences if he had been convicted by a jury. Zenemo also told the Daily Sentinel that the self-defense argument would not have covered the weapons possession charge. Malachi Winder will return to Oneida County Court in January to receive his prison sentence. Ceremonies took place across the Mohawk Valley today. Eyewitness News reporter Louis Genovese shares how a guest speaker at one of those celebrations was making their voice heard. For the second time this fall, dozens of crews were sent to the Novelis aluminum plant in Oswego for a massive fire. The plant, which makes aluminum for auto companies, caused heavy losses, including a 7% drop in Ford motor stocks after that first fire. Like the one in September, this morning's fire was visible from at least 4 miles away. Thick black and white smoke was filling the air just outside the port city. Kendra Brodus shares more on this case of deja vu.